In the grand theater of life, we all seek a comeback, a resurgence, a rekindling of our inner fire. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience. This is not just another podcast. This is a journey, a venture into the heart of human spirit, the power of resilience, and the art of reigniting our passions.
It's the intentionality and then that phrase, don't negotiate with yourself.
Yes.
I think that's probably one of the most powerful things because it's something we all do.
Yeah.
We set a goal or we make a commitment to ourselves and then we negotiate ourselves through it. We're like, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow. Or I didn't really want to do that.
Or someone else needs me, so I might as well do it for them first and then I'll get back to myself.
Yeah.
Now, I should clarify one thing just to be clear here. So if I'm going to go to the gym in the morning, I make the intention the day before, and I sleep poorly, I will punt the gym because I need sleep more than I need the gym. But I've learned that through failing by pushing through and going to the gym and then being exhausted the rest of the day. I lose the day for that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the one exception and the backstrokers. So I got two exceptions. But don't negotiate. Like you said you would do this. I went on a cruise last month to Alaska. Gorgeous cruise. Alaska's a gorgeous country, beautiful city, beautiful state. And we were up late the one night doing a silent disco, dancing away, tearing a rug up. It was fun. It was great. I had some drinks. Chatting with my mom, like, let's go to yoga in the morning. We're going to do yoga in the morning. Cool. And she goes, at the end of it, she goes, Dan, I'm not doing yoga in the morning. I'm like, well, I'm going to do yoga in the morning. And I went and did it because I say I was going to do it. But man, that kind of kicked me in the backside because I was a bit sick the rest of the trip. And I was hoping to meet some people on the boat, and that didn't really happen either. It's quite an older crowd on the boat. But I said I was going to do it, so I was going to back away from that because I said I was going to do it.
Yes.
And, maybe I could have pivoted and like, well, okay, you're not going to go, I'm not going to go either. But like, I don't have that switch in me. Like, I have to do it now because I said it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think those are the opportunities for you to refocus on the intention that you started on. Was the intention to do yoga with your mom, or was the intention to do yoga, period? Right. So it's what was the intention when you originally set out, and that you can fill that in with whatever the task is that the listeners, if you're thinking about letting yourself down, what was the intention when you set the goal to begin with? That's an important part to start with.
Yeah, I think so. And that's, there's exceptions to every rule, right? I have this one of my hacks is called IFTTT. If this, then that.
Yes.
An app that was big a while ago. So like, I've got these rules for my life now. So 25 degrees and below, wear trousers. 25 degrees and above, wear shorts. Used to live in London, right? So I have to take the tube every day. If it's a yellow line, stay the course. If it's a yellow late signal, stay on the tube because it's faster to stay on the tube than to adjust to a new tube track. If it's red, change track. For these rules in life, it's like, if this, then that.
Yeah.
Like, help short circuit the time I need to think about this, but only by trying to be like, well, I guess I'll just stay on this red line. Do that once, do that twice. You realize this is a fool's errand. This is going to take me forever. Let's change routes here. But like yellow, hold the line. But these rules you kind of develop over time, and you build this like muscle that just like it's instant.
Mm-hmm.
With like, I was going to a cafe in London a couple years ago in Shepherd's Bush. And I'm leaving the house with my headphones, like this lovely Sony noise canceling headphones. The second I leave the house, they go boop, boop, power off.
Oh.
And I go, good. I'm close enough to the house where I can go back and charge them up. Had I been in the cafe, I would have lost the headphones the whole time. And that's not mine. That's Jocko Willink. He did this great video called Good. Are you familiar with this?
No.
Check it out. It just like, everything bad that happens, if there's some good that will come of it.
Yeah.
But I instantly thought good when I heard that power off because it's like that's ingrained in me now. Good. I can recharge the batteries here because I'm close to the house. Had I been at the cafe, I would have lost the headphones the whole time I was there. But like that's a mindset. You take this on board and you can adapt it to where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think for our listeners, it's important for you all to remember that even if you are new to the concept, if this, then that, there are probably things that you're doing, mindlessly doing, if this, then that. And the one thing that popped up to mind for me were the individuals that are like, oh, I had a hard day, I'm going to have a glass of wine, or I'm going to have a cocktail, right? Like if this, then that. If I've had a hard day, I'm going to go home, unwind, and have a drink. Or, if it's a Saturday, I'm going to go out for a hike or a bike ride or whatever. But we may do these things. You just haven't given it credit to the concept of if this, then that. But we do it in so many areas of our lives.
And I think positive and negative, some of it is, and it's become almost this habit that we don't even often think about.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very mindset-based thing. A lot of my talks are based on mindset because that's one thing you can control. Yeah. You can't walk, talk, or smile. What can you control? How you think about this. It's not what happens to you, but you respond to that matters. And I embodied this full hog because, I was not dead to rights, but like not far off. I told my parents I wouldn't make it out of this. Like, you may not be able to walk again. I'm walking out without a stick, without a cane. Told my parents I couldn't speak again. I'm a speaker now. Like, don't let these limitations decide who you are. Like, make up your mind and approach this. Now, that can be true for everyone. Like, if you're paralyzed, you can't will yourself to walk, but damn it, you try every day. And you try to ratchet this up and you try to be better than yesterday. And like, I got limited time now for laughable complaining because it's like, hey man, like, it's not that bad. Like, is it that bad? Really? Like, I had one friend in London who always whinged about stuff, like complained. Won't name him on a few podcasts. I'll avoid his name on this. But I was like, is it that bad, man? Like, is it really that bad? What's a bad day? I gave a talk for Delta, City of Delta last year. In the Q&A portion of my talk, and they go, well, Dan, what do you do when you have a bad day? I'm like, well, what's a bad day? Tell me about that. She goes, well, you're late for work, and you got an overdue project at work, and you got to talk to your boss. Like, well, is that a bad day? Like, my level of faff is just dramatically higher now than it was in the past. Like, that's not a bad day. A bad day is when you couldn't get in a wheelchair. Took 45 minutes, not 35 the day before. Like, the shower was like excruciatingly difficult to get back in the wheelchair, and like to talk was excruciating. I couldn't stay awake. I fall asleep talking to my parents. Like, I had to navigate. That's a bad day. But like this is just perspective, right? There's this lovely Far Side comic that I used to use in my presentation. I should get back to it. It's pretty good. It shows life through a bird's point of view, and it's all looking at people as bullseyes from the top down. And it's just like perspective. And it's just like this big mic drop moment. Like, life is how you look at it. You're targets for the birds.
Yeah.
But like, the worst know the best. Tuning Broadway, right? That's perspective. Is the worst know the best. Like, how you look at it is everything. And you can control how you look at things. And that's what I'm trying to get across. Is just like, maybe tweak your perspective a little bit. Maybe it's not as bad as you think it is. Maybe it's maybe like just tweak it a little bit. Shift it a little bit and look at it from this perspective over here, and then again from this perspective, and then you'll find a way through.
Dan, those things that you mentioned when they start to compile, it's, the quote unquote bad day on the show. We like to call those the lyrics to your country music song, right? Like your significant other left, the dog died, the house needs repair. Like, it's all of the lyrics that goes into the country music song. So, but it is perspective. Like, how bad is it? And can you change the lens of which you're looking through when looking at that? Because if we go back to what you mentioned, like the good, like that video on good, like, well, good. Then now what? Now what's next? What's that going to look like?
Well, like, a bit off piece here, but like Stoic philosophy, do you follow Ryan Holiday at all?
No.
So he speaks about Stoic philosophy, which is like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, these Greek Stoic philosophers, and they talk about, like, in senses is like control what you can control and punt the rest. Mm-hmm. So one of my expressions is control the controllables. If I can control it, I worry about it. If not, I punt it. So I lived in London during the lockdowns. London was locked down hard. It was difficult. I was living with some flatmates, but like on my own in a house of like strangers. And you couldn't leave the house. You don't leave the house to go for groceries or go for a walk once a day. It was gruesome for like a year. It was insane. And control what you can control. I can't control this. Don't worry about it. Control what you can control. Get the mindset right. I started a podcast during this time. which is since on pause, but like it's an opportunity to build something else up. Control what you control and punt the rest. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. Like, what can I focus on? What can I control right here and there? And don't worry about the rest of the stuff, because it's just extra stuff that's vying for your attention. You can't really control it.
We talk about that a lot in our coaching with our clients. Is our clients that get really focused in the concern, all those things that they have zero control over, and we always try to bring them back to focus on what you actually have control over, because all that matters.
Because the rest is just like you're just worrying for the sake of worrying. Like, what about this? It's like, well, can you do anything about that? No. And like, why give it bandwidth? I've got limited bandwidth now. My battery's not as good as it used to be. I can't give thoughts or worry to stuff that's not in my control, because why?
Yeah.
What's the point of giving that? Like, this bandwidth, I can't do anything about this. It's just spinning back tires in my brain. Like, what kind of fix this? Like, no, you can't. Like, don't worry about it. And that maybe is a bit naive to look at the world from that perspective, but like, I don't know. I've climbed back up to where I'm at today with the brain injury, and like, if you told me I'm in this position 10 years ago, I would have taken it any day of the week. There's no way I thought I'd be doing this. Yeah. Walking, talking. I skied last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I told the nurses I was in. Let me tell you the story about skiing. So I was working on the even bars in the rehab team. Now, even bars are just what they sound like. Even bars you hold when you're unstable on your feet. I was still in the wheelchair at the stage, building up the strength to walk. The rehab team asked me, what is most looking forward to get back to doing? Thought about this. A big sporty guy, played everything, like soccer, hockey, volleyball, softball. I played everything under the sun. It's quite sporty. What would be the most difficult to get back to doing, I thought? Skiing, I said. They paused. Okay. Now, simple exercise, burned in the back of my mind, I'm going skiing again. And then I was asked when I want to make this happen. I said 2022. 10 years from the last ski trip I was on. It's a couple years back in the fray. Late into the year, into March, brought the skis in the shop. They get waxed. They get sharpened. They couldn't adjust my bindings. They told me those are tools to be worked on, they told me. As you're both from Colorado, I'm sure you ski or snowboard or know people that do. The bindings hold your feet to the skis, and they either break off or they don't. Mine were set to quite high because I used to be quite a big skier. I used to be a ski racer and an instructor. And I got tired of my skis bailing on me on the steep pitches, so I ratcheted them as tight as they could go so they wouldn't fall off. They couldn't adjust those, but I figured, what, that's no big deal. It's no stress. Late in the season into March 31st, basic Grouse Mountain Super Sky Ride with my buddies Andrew and RJ. I tell the boys, remember this old hack as a ski racer, and be like, always try to do the last one on the gondola. Then we can rest your skis and your poles and the doors closed behind you. You can ride up hands free. It's great. Feel like an OG member, and you kind of feel a bit superior with your you can adjust your gear on the gondola ride up. We're climbing up the gondola, right? I'm thinking to myself, geez, I hope it comes back. This is gonna be really bad if it doesn't come back, right? 10 years off the slopes. Over the first tower, big forwards, big back. If you'll close your eyes, I'll take you to the last leg of the gondola, please. We're climbing up top. I feel like dimple cold in your cheeks. Not a lot, but enough to let you know your altitude. In the dock of the station, you walk through the station with all your gear, clomp, 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 outside into a wall of sunshine, a beautiful bluebird day. Gorgeous day. Big inhale. Smell the trees, the fresh air, the snow, the changing environment. Down the stairs, clang, clang, clang onto the snow. Crunch, crunch, crunch. It's soft pack. It's spring, remember. Got situated with the boys, Andrew and RJ. Then after 10 years off the slopes, I ripped it like I never missed a day. I've got a great video where I'm skiing down the slopes and I'm shredding. Beautiful turns. I used to be an instructor, right? So remember an old hack. They tell you to pretend your poles in your hands like this, so your upper body is still, but your lower body is active. And I'm cutting turns like I never missed a day. It all came back like this. Best day I've had since the brain injury. There's no way those nurses thought I'd be skiing again. No way. But I said it out loud and I made it happen. I chased this down. I ratcheted myself up to a point where I can make this happen.
Yeah.
Aim big, I'm saying. Chase this down. Like life is, you don't set up for life. Set up, well, I guess my life is, no, that's bullshit. Like, chase it down. What can you do? What can you control? Make this happen. Stress yourself, push yourself. And you're going to fail. I've failed 1,000 times. Fall down 1,000, get up 1,001. I keep trying, I keep going. I mean, it's inevitable. Me being a new keynote speaker, it's inevitable. I'm gonna keep chasing this down, and it's inevitable I'm gonna break through. It's just like that skiing was the best day I've had since the brain injury. But there's no way they thought I'd be skiing. And that was a phenomenal day.
Wow. Defying all of the odds. As you said, the nurses probably had no idea. They never expected that. They didn't believe it to be something, but then just staying so focused and then hunting it down and making it happen.
Well, like you get this one at bat at life, right? 400 trillion to one. And like, I'm not going to settle for the life I have. I'm going to chase the life I want. Always chase. Always chase. And like, don't lose that. You can't lose that fire, that spark in your eyes. Remember me, my GP Jens Foles for the first time. He read I was in a waiting room meeting for the first time with my dad. And he goes, Dan McQueen. And I stand up. Where's my hand? I'm walking over to him. He goes, Dan, I read your file in front of the whole room. I read your file. I thought you'd be a wreck. And he goes, Jens, I'm sorry to disappoint you. But he said I never lost that spark in my eye, that life, that zest for life that people lose when they've been through something like this, because the zest, is that life, that flicker in your eye is like what makes life worth living. Chasing, always chasing.
Wow. I love that. Well, Dan, you also help people in the space of mindset work. And I know that we've touched on this a little bit. Do you have any additional life hacks or techniques that you share with your audience members that you'd like to share with our listeners as we talk about mindset and maintaining that motivation and that drive for a better life?
Yeah, so I'd say like find a morning routine that works for you. I have a very strict morning routine that I follow. I wake up, I used to wake up quite early, but I wake up a bit later now. But I'll make my bed. The first thing I do is make my bed. There's a great video from a commander from the military about making your bed and the impact that makes on your life. I make my bed always, every day now. I never did growing up. I also thought this is a waste of time. But I see the value in it now. I make my bed. Then I go for a walk or an exercise. Mood falls actually, I get a sweat on. Exercise, go to the gym, go to the pool. Get my heart rate up and my body going. Then I shower in the shower cold. 1 to 3 minutes, nothing heroic here. Then I meditate. Once I'm done that, I go to breakfast and start my day. Every day is similar, and I ratchet myself up. But this routine sets me my intention for the day and gets me in the space to be successful. I implore you to try out a morning routine and just test it out, see what works. But test it. You have to fail. You have to try it out. You have to push yourself to failure. I always say, like, the parameter of like you're on the desk and I got to step off the desk or off the mat or drop the clicker to know where the parameters are here. You don't know the rules to break them, but you have to know the rules to know where you sit in the rules. I used to have this bath mat or shower mat when I showered, and I have to hang it up to dry every day in the shower because I wasn't strong enough to stand on my own. It was every time I see this mat, I'd be like, "You're not good enough to stand in the shower, Dan." It drove me bloody nuts. It was expensive. It was like a couple hundred, or like 100 quid, 100 pounds, just like $150 American. I told my parents one day, I'm not using the bloody bath mat anymore. I can stand on my own. They go, no, Dan, you got to use the bath mat. You can't stand on your own. You're not strong enough. I'm not using the bath mat anymore. Did it one time. Guess what? I was fine. I ditched the bath mat. I used to use a cane every day to walk. Went back to Vancouver one time, forgot the cane at home. I was fine without the cane, so I ditched the cane. I used to use a contact lens to block the vision of one eye and less intrusive in the eye patch. I was wearing it today, but took it off because I'm ratcheting back up to the contact lens point, a little less intrusive in the pirate look, but we're building this up. And I didn't bring the contact lens to South Africa because I thought sand and dirt would get in the eye, so I didn't want to risk that. And you know what? It was fine, so I just the contact lens. But ratcheting this up and putting yourself in a safe space to fail and failing and pivoting. Luckily, these are all success stories that I managed to navigate, but like, you have to try out failure. You have the risk of failing to push your boundaries to know where you're at. If you don't try, if you don't fail, you're not even trying. You've got to push yourself to failure, and within reasons. Like, don't start jumping off stuff or causing crazy things, but like in a safe environment, push yourself to a point where you're a bit uncomfortable, and then that's your new level, and you ratchet up to there, and then after a few months, ratchet up again. Like, you got to stress this out, and you got to push yourself to this because you can't get better unless you try.
Yeah. That's huge. Well, and Dan, you actually gave me a big aha in terms of sharing your morning routine, because I have a pretty structured morning routine as well. And never, ever have I considered making my bed part of that morning routine. But as you were sharing that, I can't think of a time that I've gotten out of a bed, either my own or if I'm traveling and I'm on the road. I always make it up. I make up the bed. And that's just a habit. But I never consider that to be part of my morning routine. I think the same is true when we think about the things that are habits that we do on a daily basis that are just natural to us. We don't think about it as part of a quote unquote practice or routine or habit. It's the instinctual things that we do. For me, it's instinct. I get up, I make up the bed, no questions asked. I can't even think back to a time that I just got out of the bed and I left it for the day.
Oh,
that actually gives me a little anxiety.
The reason why you make your bed is twofold, right? It's the first task you accomplish in the day, great.
Yes.
But it also makes the room look tidy. If you've been messing with the room look tidy, the bed's made. If the bed's unmade, it will look like a gong show. The bed's made, it just sets yourself at ease. And then no matter what happens that day, you get into a bed that's made. I made that. I accomplished it in the morning. That's the first task I accomplished of the day.
Yeah.
Like, build these into your routine before you know they'll become automatic. And like, I used to track this on an app that like I track my habits, and I'd be like, did I make my bed? Did I meditate? Did I cold shower? And now I just do it now.
Just do it.
But like, you got to ratchet this up, right? It's all about ratcheting it up and just getting the new level. And that's your new baseline now.
Yeah.
And it can be a bit tiresome to always pursue better than yesterday, because I'll never be the best I could be. I could always be better than yesterday. And that's a bit exhausting to always be on hamster wheel. But like, I've ratcheted myself up so far from where I was initially. Like, I'm going to keep going. Like, it's worked. So why challenge it now? Like, it's got me to where I'm at today. And like, I look back in my life, I've got these videos of me in the hospital early days, like walking and talking to the camera, and just like how crunked I was and how dead to rights I was. And look back now, like, compare yourself to who you were yesterday and not who someone else is today. Look back at those videos and like, you know what? You were in a bad way, man, but you worked your tail off to get back where you're at now. And I'm damn proud about that.
As
always,
you should be.
Yeah.
As
Always
you should be.
better than yesterday. I love that.
Yeah.
Something we can all live by.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hashtag better than yesterday. I'm going to invite our listeners to start using it. So you'll see your hashtag popping up around there. Oh my goodness. Well, Dan, is there anything else that you would like to leave our listeners with that we haven't touched on?
Well, I'd love to ask you too a few questions, if I may.
Of course.
Sure.
Why not? You've both interviewed a lot of people on the podcast already. What are some themes you found about resilience that are kind of resonating with you on this podcast? What are some lessons that you've teased out from the podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In general, over the entire life of the podcast?
I'll leave it open to you.
Okay.
I think for me, the thing that have been the common thread between all of them, mindset and community.
Mm-hmm.
So having a community of people supporting them, whether it's family, friends, whatever that looks like, coworkers, and then always that positive mindset through gratitude. And and I think that's been pretty common with almost everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd have to say that they're exactly the same. I'd add one to it. It's the mindset, the community, and commitment is something that we see pretty consistently with every story that has been shared.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. One thing I'd like to add is that I'm so driven to share my story now because I had a lot of help to get back to where I'm at today. My family came over from Vancouver to spend, multiple years in London to help me get back to my feet. Yeah. My company, Hutu, was super supportive and letting me ratchet back up to work. I had a ton of help to get back from it. I'd say, maybe you don't have that help, but I can give you these hacks, these lessons learned. Like, hey, maybe this is left here. No, this is a honeypot. I can go around the bend. Mm-hmm. I can tell you these things that I've learned. Like, for instance, meditation. I meditate every day now. Yeah. Best habit I picked up since sobriety has been meditation. Do that every day now for at least 20 minutes. Today I did 15 because I thought my dryer was going off and I didn't want to make my clothes shrink. But every day meditate and like ratchet this up. But I had a lot of help to get back from it today. So that's why I'm so driven to give this forward and add service and lend a hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thing we didn't mention was also the drive that people have to share their story to help other people.
Yeah.
I think that's also the common theme. People going through incredible adversity and wanting to share their story, very difficult stories, just so that they can hopefully inspire someone else that's maybe going through something or may go through something. And I think that's been a really common one, and I think a beautiful one that we've seen as well.
And one thing I'd like to add on that as well is like, I share my story a lot now, and all my friends know I'm like a brain survivor, and I tell the story. And I realize sometimes I can come across maybe a bit arrogant and like a bit better than because I've been through this difficult thing. But it's like I don't tell my story to get the attaboys of like, look what I've been through. More so, so you can see that I've done this. Why can't you? If you find yourself down a dark hole, well, Dan did it. Why can't I? He's no smarter or better than any one of us. He's average. And he did this. Why can't I? I'm hoping to be the example you can point to, like, well, this guy did it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
And like, I don't want you to ever go down what I've been through. Like the depths of the human experience I've experienced. I'll share one more story with you. Like in the hospital, right? Early days from the hospital. In the daytime, the doctors are there, the families there, everyone's there to support you. It's all happy-go-lucky. Like we're building you back up. We're going to build this up. In the nighttime, it's the day shift's off, the night shifts are on. The night nurses, the family's gone. The wails from the intensive care unit are like haunting. People are crying. Their lives are in shambles. Like, what am I doing with my life now? They're crying and wailing. You're in this big room and you can't go to sleep because you hear them crying and screaming in the nighttime. It's a haunting place. It took a few days to get used to this, to like rest easy. And eventually I put headphones on, just like drown the noise.
Yeah.
Like that's the side that you don't see when you're in the hospital. Right? Like the daytime's good job, Dan. Great work. Love to see the doctors there. How good progress here. The nighttime's like you're in the pits.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by people that have lost everything.
Yeah.
And some of them are hanging on by a thread, and some of them have lost the thread. Some of them are in despair, depressed, anxious, scared. And it's a terrifying place at night.
Mm-hmm.
But I never tell that because I don't want people to know like how dark it is at nighttime, because you have to go through that on your own. You can't help me get through this. I have to do this on my own. I have to navigate this path and come out the other side and be okay with this. You can't help me through this. I have to do this one part on my own. Everything else you can support me with, but this I have to do on my own. So I didn't share it because I didn't want to whinge about it or like seem like I was complaining, but like, man, that's haunting.
Yeah.
The cries, the wails, the screams, the despair in their voice, you can hear it because this isn't fair this happened to them, right? It's not fair it happened, but it's not personal. But that mindset shift now, I've got these whimsical expressions and stories now. Let me tell you, the time this happened, I was looking to survive.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't these cute stories when I was going through this experience. They were one foot in front of the other. How can I get through this? Now they're all these whimsical stories and they all make sense. Now looking back, they connect the dots, right? At the time, it was like, how can I survive? I was hanging on by my fingernails. And to be honest, I didn't think I'd make it through this. But I wasn't going to let go. I wasn't going to let go for it. Now I talk about my brain injury like joking terms. Brain hemorrhage trying to claim me, like, because this thing tried to get me twice. And I laugh in its face now. This brain hemorrhage is nothing. Like I belittle it, I clown it, I mock it, I taunt it because you try to get me twice. Like, why me? Try me. Let's go.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think if you take that same story out of the physical space of the hospital, and if you have not had an experience where you've had to stay overnight in a hospital, the space is entirely different. The day shift to the night crew to the silence and being alone with your own thoughts. I think that you can carry that into whatever space you're in, your personal home, if you're in transitional housing, things of that nature. In those darker evening hours, you're left there with your own thoughts and you continue. And again, you're left with that choice. Like, what are you going to choose to do in those moments? But those are probably some of the harder moments when it's darker, slower, quieter. You're left with yourself to think and process through. So not necessarily just in the physical space of the hospital. I think that's relatable for many of us that are facing adversity.
It's kind of a lesson for life, right? Like you got to go through this stuff on your own.
Yeah.
Like, again, on your own, but like lots of help, but like there's stuff that they can't help you with. Like they can't help you with the night stuff. Like they're gone.
Yes.
It's in the hospital room, like you're there and like the whales are there and you're like, this is nuts, man.
Yeah.
This is terrifying. This is scary. I'm uncomfortable. My leg hurts. They're wailing and screaming and you can't sleep because it's so loud. But like, no one can help you get through that point. You have to get through that on your own. No one's coming to save you to get through that point. Like, you have to figure that out. And life's like that. Like you mentioned, like this is a metaphor for life of like, it's going to get dark at times, right? But like you got to focus on what you can control and navigate through this one step at a time. Get a morning routine that serves you and like build yourself back up, ratchet up until your new level, you reach a new level, that's your new standard. And then again, and then again. No does not mean always, it just means right now. It means in 2 weeks' time might be a yes, excuse me. But like, no isn't forever. No is just not right now. And I failed again and again and again, but I keep going. I keep going because it's inevitable. I'm not going to stop. And like, when that gets set in your mind, it's like, what do you come at me with? Like, you think you've got this thing that's going to be the thing that dethrones me? Like, no, not that I'm on the castle here. Let me pardon the dethrone reference, but like, you can't, you think this is going to knock me off? Like, look what I've been through here.
Exactly.
Like, this ain't shit. You ain't shit, man. Like, get some perspective here. Like, you think this is a scary thing, or like this isn't gonna get me? Like, no, man. Like, but unless you've been through this, you don't know. And like, I don't know. The perspective I've got is so gold, so valuable that I want to give it to you. Well, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to most people for a reasonable price. Check out McQueenDan.com and you'll see the details there. But like
perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Like,
where can people find you?
McQueenDan.com, MacQueen Dan.com. And McQueen Dan across the socials. But like, this perspective is something I want to give you because you can have this. And then once you have this, everything can fit into place. You don't need it's a compass, right? It's a compass of how to navigate life.
Yeah.
It's not going to be specifically mapped for your situation, but it's a compass of how to navigate towards true north. Once you have that, like you're unbreakable, you're unbeatable. It's inevitable.
Beautiful. McQueen Dan, MacQueen Dan.com. You can find him there. Dan, it's been a pleasure.
Ladies, I want to thank you very much for your time and your perspective. It's been lovely to chat with both of you on the podcast. I look forward to it sometime soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So many fabulous nuggets, takeaways, and life lessons and life hacks. So thank you for the life hacks, Dan. I think those are important as well. For our listeners, we will make sure that we include Dan's contact information in the show notes. And you can always keep up with us with what's going on in Reignite Resilience at reigniteresilience.com or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at Reignite Resilience Podcast. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Reignite Resilience. We hope that you had amazing ahas and takeaways. Remember to subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like it and download the upcoming episodes. And if you know anyone in your life that is looking to continue to ignite their resilience, share it with them. We look forward to seeing you on our future episodes. And until then, continue to reignite that fire within your hearts.